Ken, do you feel like you get the respect you deserve from the UFC and the fans?
Oh, the fans definitely. No matter what you do in sports, you're going to have people that like you and people that dislike you. And I'm one of those people that you either like me or you dislike me. So there's really no in between there. So
are you okay with that?
Oh, I'm absolutely okay with that. I treat people the way that I would want to be treated. If somebody rubs me wrong, I got to let them know it. I would want the same from somebody else if they didn't think I was treating them right, or if I would have said something wrong to them, for them to say something to me to say, you know what, I don't appreciate that. That's the kind of person I am. That's the kind of way I want to be treated, and that's the way I treat other people. You're going to know what I'm thinking, and I'm going to be respectful about it. But you better make sure you know that I do want respect, because I give respect.
Right. Do you feel like you made the right decisions career-wise?
That's funny. It's funny that you say that, because I don't think there's anybody in the history of sports that's ever made all the right decisions. You know what, though? We all have that. I mean, we could look at a lot of athletes and point fingers and say, oh, he did this and oh, he did that. And especially if you're a fan sitting on the outside looking in, because it's so easy to sit there and look and see what other people are doing when they're in the limelight. I mean, if you are going to be in the limelight and you are going to be a professional athlete, you have a responsibility. And when you don't live up to that responsibility, then you deserve everything that comes your way through the media. You have to learn how to deal with that, especially as a professional athlete. You better learn how to deal with it, because it's going to happen. And I've learned to deal with those things myself through my career. I've made bad decisions and bad choices. I'm the first to admit it. And that's what makes me being able to recover from all those, is because I know when I make my bad decisions, and I will try and fix them.
You look amazing. I mean, you look like you're in great shape.
Yeah, I feel great. I've been blessed to have the work ethic that I have. I train all the time. I've got gyms, and I'm working with different fighters, different places. And, I'm 46 years old, and I feel very blessed to be where I'm at right now and be able to still compete in this sport and have fun at it. And again, a lot of people stress on me competing in the MMA, and not the fans, because the fans would want to see me fight again, but it's other people, and I don't understand why that is.
What other people?
It's just different people, and when you go into pointing names, you start talking about different things, it's always a bad thing to do. I learned that. So the one thing I just know is that when an athlete gets to a point to where I'm not at the top, there's no way I'm up there in the top 10 as a fighter, I know that. I'm not trying to relive my younger days, but what I am doing is having fun and living life how I want to live it and fight people that I want to fight. And who am I fighting?
And what is wrong with making a living? If somebody wants to pay you to fight, what is wrong with that?
Well, that's just it. There is nothing wrong with it, but it's just rubbing a lot of people wrong. I don't know why. They want me to disappear. They don't want to see me. They don't want me to be around. I don't know. I don't have any idea of that. It's just, and I don't really care. My thing is that there's fans out there that love to see me fight. And there's matchups out there that I think that will be great for me to be able to have and go out and fight and do them on my own terms and have fun doing it. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm not trying to take any spotlight from anybody. I'm not trying to fight past my prime and try and be in the top 10. What I am doing, like I said, is I'm enjoying my life right now. I love life. I'm going to continue to love life. I'm going to appreciate my fans, and something I've always done and I always continue to do. And I'm going to do what I want to do when it comes to fighting.
When you left the UFC back in the day, you're at the top of your game, you went to WWE. Was that the right decision for you?
Yes. And let me tell you the reason why. And most people don't know this. During those days when we were fighting 3 or 4 times in one night, we weren't making that much money. I had 4 kids.
What were you making back then? Like $5,000 a night, if that?
I think max 30,000.
For 4 fights for the same night?
Yeah,
right.
It wasn't much. So, I was making ends meet, but I loved the sport, and I wanted to stay in, and I was working over in Japan, I was doing stuff over there, so I was making ends meet. Well, then I lost my job in Japan because I was fighting in the UFC. They told me to quit, I told them no, and I ended up losing my job. So there goes
some quit, the Japanese?
Yeah, there was some people over, again, I don't want to go into names, and that's always bites you in the butt when you do that.
I know.
So, I didn't do it, so I ended up losing my job. And so I stayed with the UFC. I fought through that.
This is pre-Zuffa.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this was Bob Meyerowitz, his days in Semi-4 Entertainment Group. And they were struggling very, very badly. And so the prices were going down, they weren't getting much purses, and so, you know, I ended up losing a lot of things in that time. It started dropping off, a lot of stuff started dropping off. And so I needed a place to go to where I could actually support my family, and I always said this, and I think I even said it on air one time, that I will continue to keep fighting in this business as long as I can support my family. And the minute I can't do that, I'll go do something else.
What have you learned that you didn't learn when you were on the fighter side about the sport and about the business?
Wow, it's a lot of stuff. When you're a fighter, you're very protected. You're in your own little world because you have a very precise task you're going to do. So you really are clueless to organization, everything else that goes on, even just people to get you from point A to point B. Being on the other side has really allowed me to see what type of depth is inside these productions and what it really takes to get, you know, a live broadcast off, which is just crazy. You know, that is honestly the only time I ever went in and couldn't perform. Injury, it doesn't matter. I've always performed. I've always been able to do it. And that night, for a number of reasons, mostly physical and some mental, I couldn't perform. And it's never happened to me. I went in with a broken leg and a broken hand and fought any way you could imagine. But it was a good eye-opener for me. You know, I realized I do too much. I mean, I have a job in every, you know, area of the sport because I really love it and I believe in it. I want it to be the greatest sport in the world like it's supposed to be. But that was my wake-up call, that I do too much. I got to stop and focus on what is most important to me. And fighting is really important to me. So I'm going to get back to whooping butt and not getting my butt whipped because I didn't like that feeling.
Well, what is most important to you?
Family. The most important thing to me in the world is providing for my family. You know, I wake up with my daughter every morning and it's always, morning, Nicolette.
Morning, Daddy.
How'd you sleep? Good. I love you. Every morning. Because I grew up very alone, and I grew up always needing and wanting someone to say I love you.
How did you take your father's death?
I didn't take it very well. I mean, we knew it was coming for a long time. And I went up and said goodbye to him a couple years ago because I knew that he wasn't going to recover from his last heart attack and the stroke and everything. And yeah, it just took a big piece of me when he died. And I didn't get to say, I said goodbye, but I didn't get to say the things that I wanted to say to him. And that, you know, that almost still hurts me.
What'd you want to say to him?
I just want to tell him thank you. And I never really got to say thank you. You know, most people don't know this, and here's your exclusive. I was in prison before I was fighting. I came out of prison and went right into fighting because I was a criminal. Really, I grew up in a broken home with addicted parents. I was abused, I was tortured, everything you could imagine happened to me. And I found crime to be the perfect outlet. And I wasn't a bad person, I didn't hurt people. But I took what I wanted and did what I wanted because that's what was done to me.
Now you are one of the most world-famous MMA fighters ever to live. You are a broadcaster on national television and on pay television, Showtime. You're in games, you're an author. You are the epitome of the American dream, aren't you?
I hope so. I hope so. I mean, this is what you can do. I graduated from continuation school. You know, I did most of my work in juvenile halls. You know, I know that there's a better way out there. And hey, it may not be closing a fist and getting into a cage, but for some people it is. And for some people it's just the idea of training with other people that think that that's important. You know, it's just a community needed. I grew up without a family. I gave up my family because my family sucked. And this is my family.
Do you come across people in fights that remind you of you and you want to tell them there is another way? They're not just stuck in one pattern?
All the time. Everybody. Even just regular old people. Just run-of-the-mill guys come through my school. They come by years later and say, wow, I never knew what we were doing or why we were doing it, but I appreciate you doing it.
Flying so close to where we belong. Now we're trying to go somewhere new.